Hey, everybody, it's Tara Bryan, and you are listening and watching the Course Building Secrets. I am so happy to be with you here today. So, this session, these tips for you are all about getting over the tech hurdle. So often, one of the things that is so overwhelming for people, even if you are super techie, is getting stuck in the technology, right? So often when you are like, "Yep, I'm going to use a new tool," you go in and you start playing around and you start building things in the tool. And actually, that's the opposite of what you should be doing when you first get started. When you first get started and you're thinking about, using an automation tool to help you build your business smarter and faster and easier, it actually will serve you to map it out and do a process flow on paper, on your iPad, on PowerPoint. I don't care what you use, just don't go into the actual tool. So it'll serve you to actually map it all out before you go into the actual technical tool. Because what happens is you start playing around, you start building things, and you lose sight of that big picture of like literally what you're trying to do. And so it becomes complicated really quickly. And then over time, you come back and you're like, I don't even know what happened. I don't know what's what. I don't know if this is working or that's working or whatever. And it's because you've gone down the rabbit hole of the tech and not actually thought through the process that you want the tech to solve for you. So, the biggest tip that I can help you with to simplify the entire process around the tech, because you don't need to be a tech genius to be able to do this. You don't need to code. You don't need to understand the tools. You don't need to do any of it. You just need to map out in your head the process that you're trying to get that tool to do for you so you can automate it. And so this is what I teach all of my students because somewhere in the journey, they get to a point where they're just like, it's a mess. It's not working. I don't know what's working. I don't know how to make this work correctly. And so we always go back to that initial process map that was either sketched out on paper or sketched out in PowerPoint or in notes or however you want to do it, right? However you want to visualize that. Um, it will simplify the process and help you keep track of all the parts and pieces. One, if you hire somebody who is technical to actually execute on what you are asking them to do, you can go back and say, okay, were all these pieces taken care of? And then number two, what people don't realize is when you first get started, it's not like you magically turn something on and it's working without any issues or hiccups or anything like that, right? You have to test it. And so your first couple of tries through your funnel, through your course, through all the things, is actually you just testing to make sure things are working. And what happens then is when you look at the numbers and you look at like, okay, so if I have a 4-step process, what are the numbers telling me? You need to look at it from that perspective in order to truly be able to measure what's working and what's not working. And if you don't have that mapped out outside of the tool, most often you lose sight of how to even start looking at the numbers when it comes to that. So super super critical. So I don't care if you're a tech wizard, I don't care if you're afraid of technology, it doesn't matter. The very first thing to do is to map out the whole process that you are going to use to automate what you're doing, right? So from the very beginning of a customer knowing about you to, how they're sending up your value ladder, right? Your whole tech stack, all of that is something that you just do total old school. Go grab a pen, grab some paper, or grab your iPad with your iPad pencil or however you want to do it and map it out. And to do this, I literally take boxes. I can even just quickly show you. Let me see if I can share my screen. If I open up, um, let's just open up a whiteboard quick and let me share my screen. All right, I'm going to pull this over to my second screen so you can see it. So here I have just a simple electronic whiteboard, right? I can make it fancy, or I can just keep it super simple. But literally what I would do is draw it out like this. And you can do real boxes if you want to. I mean, seriously, however you want to do it. But this is the concept of how to go about doing this. Let's see if I can use the typing tool. Is there typing? Let's see if I can type. It's not gonna let me type. Okay, so this is, say this is ads. And I'm, simplifying and making this big, or making this big picture, right? You could go down to in each specific tech you're going to use, you could go through and make this more specific. And then your ads, or however people are finding you, will go to, say it goes to a webinar page. Okay, and then you have all the pages that go with that, right? So the webinar landing page, the webinar thank you page, the webinar actual presentation page, and then the replay page, right? So you have all of those, and then you may have email sequences that go with that, right? So you may draw those out. I probably would use a pen and not my mouse to do this, but you get the idea, right? So then, we have 3 different email sequences that go out, right? So every step along the way, you're kind of mapping out, from this perspective and putting that all the way through. Because then when you go into the tool, you can just say, I need a campaign for this email series, and say there's another email series here. I need a campaign for this one. And so it becomes really easy, not only as a communication tool to share with other people, but to keep it all straight in your head. So I would never just go into, say, ClickFunnels, if you're using ClickFunnels to build your sales pages, would never just go into ClickFunnels and start creating pages. I would always have it kind of mapped out here. Now, I will tell you, in Learn Academy, we have templates and resources that have this all mapped out in terms of what a what a typical tech stack is, and what you could expect in terms of kind of the copy and how you put these all together. But it shows what this looks like from a big picture standpoint. So when you start testing all the different pieces, you know what you're testing. It's not about the tech, it's about the process. And so as much as you can peel back the tech portion of this, and understand the process, then the tools don't matter as much. And how you put it in the tool is really just dependent on executing the vision for what you've created here. You could even take it a step farther and create a storyboard or mock-ups of the different pages that you want built. And then again, then you can hand it off and someone else can implement or execute it. And then you can track back and forth, because the worst thing is when you've hired somebody and they're like, yeah, just trust me, it'll get done. And this is how it works. And you don't see how the big picture works. You cannot lead, you cannot manage, and you cannot look at the data around what's working and what's not working. So you're playing a guessing game, and it's very, very frustrating. I have definitely talked lots and lots of my customers off the ledge when it comes to this, because a lot of times the people that I'm working with aren't technical. And so this seems like it's daunting to think about all the tools and how they connect and what are all the parts and pieces of each one. But if you have a one-page map like this, it eliminates all of the stress around this. And so that is my course building tip for you today, is make sure that you map it out on paper or electronically like this, as a process map before you go into the tools. I wouldn't even choose a tool, to be honest, until I've done this activity, because then I know which ones I need and which ones are going to serve the needs that I have, not just, well, somebody told me to use this tool and somebody told me to use this tool, and so that's what I'm using, right? Make an educated decision about what you need in order to run your business and automate all the key components that will help you you know, take your time and your ability to serve to the next level. All right, there you go.